Did these two teams fumble the bag royally by not drafting Imani Bates? Let's talk about it. Now, Imani Bates has been one of those players who, outside of the top 5 in this particular draft, you grab Imani Bates. I'm sorry. I know a lot of these kids have been, chasing their dream and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to clown any of these particular prospects. I'm happy that they get drafted, blase, blase, blah, right? But one of the things that I have to just keep it a buck with is the fact that Imani Bates was one of the better talents in this particular draft. And it's not even close. Like I said, outside of the top 5, He should have been there. In fact, I mirror a lot of Gilbert Arenas' comments when he said it. I thought he was spot on. I felt the exact same way. Now, why am I saying that, though? Well, one, there's two particular teams that I think really effed up, and that's really because they're in a situation where we kind of see some things shaking up. There's a clear need for talented guards, and because of whole different cap space and things of that nature, they should have done it. The first one is the Chicago Bulls. As you can see, I'm a Bulls fan till I die, but at the end of the day, this is P.kidd Hawks NBA, so I do try to keep it, I try to keep it fair and everything like that. But the Chicago Bulls need shooters. The Chicago Bulls need better playmakers. Some of the people that the Chicago Bulls have drafted as of late, one of them we've even had the pride to shoot the ball more. Now, that's not even like me making up something. That's not me creating a narrative or storyline. The city of Chicago or collectively was like, hey, shoot the ball. And that's Patrick Williams. When you have players like that and we're already nearly dead last when it comes to three-point shooting, things of that nature, you need to find better shooters. Now, I'm not sitting there saying that Imani Bates was crazy, accurate from 3. But if you looked at some of those games and things of that nature, you can see a developing talent if you're going to go young or have that young talent there, who could really come in and make some moves. And I felt like he was one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm sorry. If we had no picks, the Bulls had no picks. They actually traded in to actually grab the player that we grabbed. And I'm being honest with you, I like what the kid's future was. His name was, leaving me now, but he wasn't Emoni Bates. He wasn't even close, in my opinion. Because we didn't need Chicago Bulls, that is, more defensive players. We have them. We were one of the better rated defensive teams in the league. We needed players to come in, especially on the second unit, to be able to score, especially if we don't have Zach or DeMar on the floor. If they're running in that first unit, you needed someone to be able to step up and do that consistently. And while I will say that most second rounders on this particular team seemingly don't get a lot of tick outside of IO, Imani Bates rolls in and he's better than the other players that we would have come off our bench. Or at least has more upside, in my opinion. And so that's one of the things where if you're going to make any moves for any second rounder and you see him available, they should have grabbed him. Now, I understand there's a lot of baggage that comes with him, but I think the juice is worth the squeeze at this particular point because there's nothing that he does or can't do now that he can't develop that I don't think will help aid this particular team. Now, again, a lot of red flags, but there's also a lot of green flags when it comes to Imani Bates. It just didn't make sense to me. I understand sliding. I understand why he would slide. I understand why he would slide out of the top 10, top 15. But to be near the end of the draft, really halfway through, a little bit over half or halfway through the second round, no. By no means. And there's no way that Chicago makes a move or should have made a move for anyone else outside of him. Because realistically, the best person that they drafted, because they did, or signed rather, because they were able to sign, wasn't someone that they actually had to trade for. It wasn't someone they actually had to go and get at 35. It just wasn't. But that's a whole different storyline. But I want to hear your thoughts, especially if you're a Chicago Bulls fan. Do you think they fumbled the bag? This isn't going to be one of those videos where you get this deep down analysis because we are talking about rookies. We're talking about young players who are going to be projects. However, if I have to pick the project that I want to work on, I want to pick the project that has the highest probability of success. And in my opinion, the one that has the highest probability of success is the one that's not afraid to shoot, has that dog in him, and it really wants to actually succeed and has a chip on his shoulder. That type of player will thrive in Chicago because that's the type of town Chicago is. That's the type of culture that we are. That's who Imani Bates is. On top of the fact the boy's a bucket. But we didn't make that particular move. And the Cavaliers, who again, someone just, by the name of Donovan Mitchell on that particular team, rode into Chicago, dropped 70 bones on us. Like, they get that player. So now they add it to their repertoire of scores if they need to, because I do believe Imani Bates is going to be a star in this particular league. I do believe he's going to get there. I absolutely have that type of faith in them. But I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think that they dropped the bag on that one? Now, the second team I want to say, and we're going to talk about it briefly because I know there's a lot of speculation with them, but you got, I hate to keep mentioning this team's name and this player's name, but it's still the Portland Trailblazers. If you go and look at that particular draft and you look at what they needed, if you are not going to sit there and abide by the framework of what your franchise, your franchise player, like, he's the best player in their franchise as far as individual skill would be concerned. I still have Clyde pretty high. I still have Clyde pretty high. But he's the best player in their particular franchise. He doesn't want to have a whole bunch of developing players. He's not looking to develop. He's not doing any of that. If you were looking to make any particular moves with your pick or anything like that, if that's the route I'm going, then you draft some of the best talent in that draft. And then you use that, if you can, to move for players that will fit Dame's timeline. If you're not going to fit Dame's timeline, you still get the best players available. And the Blazers did have a pick in the second round. The Blazers could have made a move for him, because if you're ultimately thinking you're going to lose Dame, then you want to make sure you have as many talented young players on your roster as possible, so that you can start facilitating your rebuild a lot better and accelerating it. I don't know what the heck Portland is doing. Everyone keeps saying that Dame is going to stay, this, that, and the other. And the noise is getting relatively loud when it comes to the fact that he may not want to be there, because he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. He doesn't want to be a part of anything else. He wants more veteran players to help him win. And guess what? You do need more veteran players to win championships. That's what you absolutely need. They ain't got it. They're not in space to compete. I like what Scoop brings. I like what he's saying. And I hope that boy don't take it personal. But guess what? Dame ain't trying to play with Scoop. But that's what they gave him. They gave him Scoop. That's not right. So now Portland could have done a host of different things. And don't get me wrong, they're still going to get a king's ransom for Dame when they finally do move him, because he's getting moved. I don't care what nobody say. Dame is not going to be in Portland jersey the entire 2023-2024 season. If he is, I'm just wrong there. Just call me Nick. I'm wrong. I don't care. But ain't no way in heck I think he's going to be there. And I think most of the world feels that way too. But I want to hear your particular thoughts. Do you think Portland, do you think the Bulls dropped the bag on not getting this particular young talent to help facilitate some of these things? I want to hear your thoughts. Whether it's love, whether it's hate, put it in the comments. I'll be in there with you. It's going to be a couple of drops today, so be tuned for some more of it. It's some news sprinkling out throughout the circuit, so we got to touch on them. But this was the one I wanted to let simmer a little bit, just to find out. Maybe I don't know some of the other players that was chosen ahead of him, but I kind of stand on it. Imani Bates should have went a lot. Bates should have went higher. And these two particular teams should have at least made a move as opposed to the other ones, because they are in a very awkward position. But again, love or hate, put it in the comments. I'll be in there with you. Peace.